what may be seen as just a game is so much more under the surface. Countless stories reveal aspects of human nature that will forever remain untold. Here on Philosophy, we will tell those stories. This is Philosophy, video game philosophy. I am David Leibowitz, and time to get the spiel for your enlightenment. Game starts. In the beginning, all there that existed in this world was simply a world egg. And then, it began to hatch. The Pokemon that we now call creator of this universe, Arceus, was formed.
Oh god! How the hell did I fit in that?
After Arceus finished the world's first vomit, then he proceeded to create the space dragons, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. Dialga governed the dimension of time, Palkia governed the dimension of space, and Giratina, with nothing to do, after having a midlife crisis, did something so bad, something really, really frickin' bad, that we have no idea what he actually did, but he got banned to the Distortion World. Arceus then proceeded to shape the universe with his 1,000 arms.
Where are these arms coming from?
Arceus then proceeded to create gods to govern each parts of reality. He then found himself creating a cat fetus.
What did I just create? All the holy things I could create in this kingdom, I create a cat fetus. Oh, but it's cute. It is so cute, in fact, that I'll say, it was born of a virgin. Griselia, want to do the honors? Be the mother? Either way, because I can't bear to look at you anymore. How about you go create, life? Yes, life. Yes, that's a good Mew. And for some ungodforsaken reason, Mew created the rest of all known life. One doesn't know how a cat fetus is the ancestor of all life, but it is. And we love it. Except, what if it isn't true? What if Arceus didn't create Mew? What if Mew created Arceus? This has been a subject of passionate debate in the Pokemon world. What conspiracies could Arceus be hiding? Why does Arceus favor those of Sinnoh over all other regions? What could be hiding behind the doors of Arceus' famous rave parties, where he chills with the space dragons? This is one of 1,000 Pokemon conspiracies that have been spread throughout the globe. And also, Arceus is related to alchemy, so it all comes in. No! No! We're not doing that! No! But, no noggin! No! I'm doing this my way. What if Arceus isn't the creator of this world, but is the creator of a new world, as Arceus is very, very Buddhist. And Buddhists don't have a creation story. So this is simply a new creation. So it all comes together. Fine, noggin, fine. This has been the Pokemon Files. See you next time. So, as that skit implied, we are talking about the Mew Arceus dilemma. For those who are not aware of the Pokemon series, which is hard, it's a series in which if you are not human and you are sentient, you are a magically powered creature known as a Pokemon. Trainers catch Pokemon in balls and use them to fight, and for many other reasons. We did a whole episode on the main core themes of Pokemon for the second episode. However, in some ways, this is a furthering of that episode's themes of Pokemon What is Community. But, as again, we are here to answer the Mew Arceus dilemma. As the skit suggested, Arceus is the creator of the universe. However, that was Gen 4. A Pokemon that existed since the first generation, Mew, though hacked in, so 151, is supposedly the ancestor of all Pokemon. So it's a chicken and egg problem. Who came first, Mew or Arceus? Was Arceus the actual creator of the universe, or was there just evolution and things happened just like a Big Bang? I'm here to generally be more on the side of Arceus is the creator of the universe and take it as it is, but we can explore those other options. But
in explaining what Arceus is, what Mew is, a little bit about Giratina, and then to Mewtwo, we understand the relationship between science and religion in the Pokemon series, and how it's very interesting and has a lot of implications for the Pokemon world, and for our world as well. Let's first talk about Arceus, and what Arceus is based off of. Arceus' body type is based off of a Qi-Lin. A Qi-Lin is a quadrupedal Chinese dragon, with some horse-like features. Qi-Lin do the service of other Chinese dragons, however, they only usually appear in service of very important people, like Confucius or the Chinese Emperor. Although not thought of as a creator, they have a good amount of importance. That is Arceus' general design. However, there are things that are mentioned that make it more interesting, and further, the Eastern influence of Arceus. Because no, Arceus is not the Judeo-Christian god. Absolutely not. The majority of Arceus' influence is Eastern. In Arceus' Pokédex entry, as we very comedically showed, it created the world with 1,000 arms. There is a specific being in Buddhism that has, sometimes depicted with, 1,000 arms. That is Guanyin, the Bodhisattva of compassion. To denote, a Bodhisattva is someone that reaches Buddhahood, but stays on Earth to help people. And they very much have godly power. Guanyin serves as Sun Wukong's guide in Journey to the West, the Monkey King. So far we already have a very compassionate character for Arceus, even though Arceus comes off as this alpha male. We're starting to see a benevolent form to take to Arceus. Other aspects of Arceus are the World Egg. As shown in the skit, Arceus emerged from an egg. This myth is seen in countless world mythologies, and all have in common a god, creator, deity emerging from an egg. Arceus has another further connection to Buddhism. The wheel surrounding Arceus is the Buddhist Dharma Chakra, or Dharma Wheel. It's basically the Buddhist logo. The Dharma Chakra is basically the wheel that the Buddha set in motion. The wheel of the path of enlightenment, the Eightfold Path, the Four Noble Truths. Living in harmony with the world, harmony with nature, and such. So with Arceus, we have a being that sets the natural world order. The laws of the world, and such. Then, we have to also think about Mew. The issue is, again, who came first? Arceus or Mew? Mew is said to create all life, but Arceus created the universe. I'm gonna give you a suggestion, in my opinion, that I think you have to think it a lot less about this. I think Arceus created the world and created some of the legendaries, and then Mew created the majority of all other Pokemon. Create, of course, is the wrong word, but it came from Mew. Why do I give that suggestion? Because of the religions that Arceus is mentioning. The religions of the East, especially Shinto and Buddhism, but especially Buddhism, is a religion that is very happily fine with evolution. In fact, some would say that Buddha predicted the theory of evolution to be discovered. We all came here for the creation-evolution debate, and when I was a young kid, I loved watching videos that bash creationists. Creationism, of course, is the idea that the Earth came around in about 6,000 years ago, because that's how it wrote in the Old Testament, or the Tanakh, the Judeo-Christian tradition, as well as Muslim. When Charles Darwin was finally, after 20 years, published The Origin of Species, and then The Descent of Man, we found out that we, as humans, are related to the rest of nature, that humanity was not on a pedestal, that we were animals like everything else, that we are plants and such. Life on Earth was not created, it evolved. And Darwin had to spell it out completely in The Descent of Man. See, we have to look at Darwin's own writings. And what Darwin writes in his book, The Descent of Man, has a profound connection on what we have already established with Arceus. Darwin writes in regarding animals, experience unfortunately shows us how long it is before we look at them as our fellow creatures. Sympathy beyond the confines of man, that is, humanity to the lower animals, seems to be one of the latest moral acquisitions. This virtue, concern for lower animals,
one of the noblest with which man is endowed, seems to arise incidentally from our sympathies becoming more tender and more widely diffused, until they extend to all sentient beings. The descent of man demonstrates the unity in all of nature. Darwin in The Descent of Man demonstrates that man is a product of nature, and therefore his qualities, such as his morality, specifically his sympathy, come as products of. And in this universe, if Arceus foresaw and set in motion the moral virtues that this world would take place with his Dharma Chakra, Arceus guided Mew to create all life and create the cycle of nature. Arceus expects humanity to think and be kind to the rest of the Pokemon world. This has a profound connection to Buddhism. During a series of discussions, I read this last Darwin quote to the Dalai Lama about emotions and compassion. The Dalai Lama's translator exclaimed, "Did he use that phrase, all sentient beings?" The translator was surprised because this phrase is the exact English translation of the dependent and Sanskrit description of the highest extension of compassion by a bodhisattva, a Buddhist saint. A concern for the welfare of all living beings is not found in the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, which focus upon concern for all human beings. A concern for other animals exists in only a limited fashion in Hinduism. Among the world's major religions, embracing with compassion all living beings is unique to Buddhism. And what does Arceus have a connection to? The Bodhisattva Guanyin. The Bodhisattva of compassion. Paul Ekman continues, the remarkable similarity between Darwin's and the Buddhist view of the highest moral virtue, all sentient beings, and the origins of compassion, both attributed to reducing one's own empathetic distress, and both noted is the strongest in a mother's feelings towards her infant, raises the possibility that Darwin might have derived his views from Buddhist writings. However, the origin of Darwin's ideas on morality and compassion appear in his 1838 notebooks, 2 years after his return from the voyage of the Beagle, when Darwin was 29 years old, 5 years before he was able to learn about Buddhism from his close friend J.D. Hooker. So it was all a giant coincidence, but thinking about the connections that possibly the Pokemon writers had in mind, the Pokemon writers did not discount and put Arceus and Mew against each other. They work perfectly in harmony. Paul Ekman continues, in concluding the introduction to their edition of Descent of Man, Moore and Desmond wrote that some of Darwin's contemporaries who studied this book emphasize the humane aspects of Darwin's Victorian values, duty, selflessness, and compassion. Darwin's thinking about compassion, altruism, and morality certainly reveals a different picture of this great thinker's concerns from that often portrayed by those unacquainted with his writings who focus on the catchphrase, the survival of the fittest, a quote from Spencer, not Darwin. Even some scientists are unaware of the Darwin's commitment to the unity of mankind, his abolitionist convictions, and his intense interest in moral principles and human and animal welfare. Now, on to Mew. Let's read Mew's Pokemon Go Pokédex entry. Apparently, it appears only to those people who are pure of heart and have a strong desire to see it. Mew values compassion and caring. And think about it. Mew has originally an embryonic design. A cat. Two things put together, a cat baby, evoke strong feelings of compassion and cuteness. Mew is one of my favorite Pokemon. I love it. I think it's adorable. And that's because, well, it has all the big eyes, the pink, the little feet, all together to get something that's cute. And if Mew is hurt, you know everyone would come to want to save it. So we have Mew being very much linked to compassion. Also, one of the rare times in which the Pokédex references a real-world location, a mythical Pokemon of South America which had been thought extinct, a growing number of people have seen it recently. Now, as more and more of the regions of the Pokemon world have been converted into their own distinct regions, we know that, well, South America in Pokemon probably doesn't actually exist. It probably goes by a different name. Or maybe it does. However, South America is where Ecuador is, and off of Ecuador is a little island known as the Galapagos, where Charles Darwin had his famous sightings. So we have clear ties to Darwin. And compassion. Now, why is it so important that we view the Pokemon world in a sense of compassion? Well, we should probably look at Arceus' counterpart, Giratina. As we say in the skit, we have no idea why Giratina was banished to the Distortion world, but Giratina does in some way fill in for the Pokemon Devil. It is known as the Renegade Pokemon. However, there kind of is a better connection to Giratina than the Devil, and that is its resemblance to Samael. Samael in Gnosticism is one of the names of the god of the Old Testament, which serves as the false god of the universe. Samael is the blind god of the material world who created Adam and Eve, and in many ways serves antithetical to the compassionate god that is unknowable, the Monad. The world that Giratina rules over is the Distortion world. Now, definitely the opposite of the world of Pokemon is possibly, well, the world of the Unenlightened. I believe there might be some Pokemon theories that say that the Distortion world was the original world or something like that. I can look them up. Definitely finding Arceus is finding the goodness in your art away from the temptations of the false god, the Samael. Giratina also serves as antimatter, in which antimatter and matter combine, they both disintegrate. Therefore, Giratina filling the world of the Distortion world as an opposite way. I do not wish to harp on this too long, but Giratina is antimatter, Palkia is space, and Dialga is time. The fact that the creation trio is so steeped in physics shows another linkage between the acceptance of modern science into this new Pokemon religion. It is not in myth anything. It is very rooted in science and represents science. It is meant to show the compatibility of this spirituality with religion and with the evolution of Mew, as opposed to a binary between the two. And thinking in general about the Mew versus Arceus debate, we should think that all of these gods are animals, not human-like figures, not really one of them, except the fairy trio, who are not fairies, they're just psychic. The fact that the gods of this universe are all animals or animal-like demonstrates divinity in animals, shows Pokemon being equal or surpassing humans with their godly power and such. The question is, as Pokemon trainers, how would you like to treat them? Would you like to catch Arceus and be good to him? Would you like to catch Arceus and make him your slave? And that is kind of where we're at, is, as humans, showing some sense of possible dominion over nature. Really, even though they have the power to capture Pokemon, it matters how they treat them. That's what we talked about in the N episode, is these harmony between humans and Pokemon, them living together. And I therefore must go to a thing that I've been trying my hardest to avoid, and that is alchemy, brought up by Noggin, who talks about it all comes together. Yeah, I don't care. We're not going to talk about how there's going to be a Pokemon reboot, though. More that, I don't know. We're not going to talk about if there's going to be a Pokemon reboot. We are going to state that Arceus, Arceus, is very similar to the word from alchemy, Arceus, Archeus. Arceus is the basic substance in reality that gives light to the world. It is the lowest point of the divine. Another name for Arceus is the anima mundi, something very much found in Jung. And I feel like I'm being a parody of myself by bringing Jung in right now, but I'm going to. Because there is a fantastic article about this, about the anima mundi, how it connects to geography. Basically, anima mundi is the world soul, and that is a great way to think of Arceus. Arceus is less of a being and more, with the creation trio, a substance. Arceus is an animistic version of the Arceus. Arceus is the substance that goes through all of creation. And since we see that that substance is that of compassion, A 1994 article by Peter Bishop states, such images of Anima Mundi have not just been confined to religions and alchemy. For example, the one-time president of the Royal Geographical Society, Sir Francis Younghusband, wrote about what he called a world patriotism, a natural and all-pervasive esprit de corps that provided creation from electrons to brain cells, cultural associations, landscapes, solar systems, and galaxies with its cohesive energy and substance. The task of individuals was to develop their aesthetic sensibility in order to be able to respond appropriately to an omnipresent, natural beauty. The relationship between human and world was one of reciprocity. As individuals reached out to the world, it in response reached out to them. Such an appreciation and response then became a doorway into a mystical experience, an attunement to the whole physical cosmos as a living organism, an immersion in a state of world love. Geographical intimations of a world soul can also be seen in Patrick Ged's work, or notions such as Gaia or the noosphere. Arceus is the primordial spark of creation. You don't need to even think of it as a living being, though, of course, in the Pokemon universe it is. With its ability to take every type with each of the elemental plates, it represents everything. And understanding the importance of the connection between Arceus and Mew. The mystical feelings we get when one looks out at a landscape, or at animals, at Pokemon, and feels a sense of awe. Pokemon is reminding you to not just approach science and the world with a cold-hearted, rational aspect, but to not only have the Mew, which gives you the emotional cuteness that you need, but also the Arceus, that gives you that sense of wonder at the vastness of the universe, and animizes, in its sense, the aspects of physics with the Creation Trio, and with the Lake Trio with knowledge, emotion, and willpower. Pokemon is telling you to forever keep that imagination and that wonder towards the universe, and never let that little childlike soul who loved looking at the wonderful Pokemon die. Because kids love going outside into nature. I hope. Never let that imagination and love go away. Keep the myth of the Anima Mundi alive. Now let's talk about if the myth of the Anima Mundi dies. It's two things. We have Giratina and we have Mewtwo, the two opposites to each of the Pokemon. Giratina demonstrates when the myth of the universe dies. It falls prey to antimatter. It goes into something unimaginable, something unrealistic, something devoid of soul, of a world soul. The distortion world, the realm of the unenlightened. For those who fall prey to material needs. For those who lack myth. But I've been promising Mewtwo, so let's talk about Mewtwo. I feel like, even for me, the Mewtwo that I know of is really the Mewtwo of the anime. And the Mewtwo of the anime and the Mewtwo of the games are somewhat different. We can definitely talk about the contrast between the two characters, but let's start off with the Mewtwo of the games. What does Pokemon say about cloning? This is what Mewtwo's Pokemon Yellow Pokédex entry reads. Its DNA is almost the same as Mew's, however, its size and disposition are vastly different. And Stadium, where Mewtwo is a boss, a vicious psychic Pokemon created by genetic engineering. Its cold, glowing eyes strike fear into its enemy. Its gold entry, because its battle abilities were raised to the ultimate level, it thinks only of defeating its foes. Ruby and Sapphire. Mewtwo is a Pokemon that was created by genetic manipulation. However, even though the scientific power of the humans created this Pokemon's body, they failed to endow Mewtwo with a compassionate heart. Now, that is a good call for a mind-body dualism discussion. We're not going to go there. I'm not even going to talk about it. If you want to look it up somewhere else. However, we have to understand the clear dichotomy of what sets us up between Mew and Mewtwo. Mew, we have a young, adorable-looking figure, created by Mewtwo into Mewtwo, a very rational, not saying Mew is not rational, Mew is psychic, very smart, but Mewtwo being a figure only and devoid of all heart, all inspiration, just pure rationality, which to me seems like a critique from society of Carl Jung, who thought that man has lost his soul when he has gone into the modern era because of pure science. If you want to give a brief, real discussion of religious opposition to cloning, well, for many, it's religious people feeling that you shouldn't play God, and such. Basically, it's unnatural, it's a feat against nature, all of that, and you can see that clearly with Mewtwo. We're not going to get into the true cloning debate. That is a whole other episode. But in context of Arceus and Mew, we can see that Mewtwo is devoid of inspiration. And even Buddhists, who you would think are open to science, at least in this poll, there were only 88 of them, and this was a while ago, I think like 2001 to 2003. They basically agreed that they wanted a law against cloning. They did not approve of cloning. They approved of cloning more than, let's say, Catholics, but they didn't still approve of cloning that much. So there are primary locations in which Mewtwo is found in the Pokemon anime, and I'm talking about main series anime. I'm not going to refer to the Mewtwo in Origins, who does not speak. I'm talking about the Mewtwo that does speak. The Mewtwo in Origins, I think, is probably a lot more similar to the Mewtwo of the games, because that anime is based off of Red and Blue. Mewtwo is found in Pokemon the first movie, its remake, Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, Mewtwo Returns, and the Genesect movie, as well as an episode of Pokemon Journeys. Probably has many other things, but those are the main ones I've seen. In the anime, we have a very misunderstood Mewtwo, who is trying to be the best and has no love for humans, who have, of course, created him. Mewtwo was created by Team Rocket, and had a whole thing with a little girl that was cloned. Weird stuff. Really weird stuff. And because of that, has now made a Pokemon challenge where he has cloned a bunch of Pokemon and such, and it's interesting, and Power of Love happens, and such. Even though anime Mewtwo is different and more sympathetic, it's still very much the same. It's just, instead of projecting human rationality's problems onto Mewtwo himself, they realized that the scientists that created him were kind of soulless people. And yeah, the cloning the Doctor was cool and all, but really, humanity is bad, and you shouldn't do stuff like that to create Mewtwo for the purpose of battling. The folly there is with humans trying to play God. And the lack of the humans' creative spark brought Mewtwo to be this way and suffer and be lonely, except with all of the Pokemon that he takes in. So even though I don't usually intend on doing Pokemon anime stuff, it had to come up because that's what people know Mewtwo for. Even though the anime is a completely different world. So really, there needs to be a balance. We need to accept the science that is there, 100%. Atheist, theist, whatever, the science is there. Evolution is real. There was a Big Bang. Arceus, this figure, does not actually exist. There is no Arceus. But in a sense, in a figurative sense for me, there is an Arceus. There is that divine spark. Because we can't let reason take over on its own. We need a myth. We need things and meaning to strive for. And if we think of, or at least contextualize the world as sort of an Arceus-like figure, you don't even have to believe in it. You just have to look and see all the magic and mysticism behind real scientific functions in the universe. It allows us to unite ourselves closer with each life, with Pokemon, with the nature, with a sense of vastness and a smalling of the self in the cosmos that the Pokemon universe contextualizes perfectly. And even though people are captors of these animals, which PETA, of course, had a big thing with, we talked about with N and the first episode, it still shows that there needs to be a sense of harmony with nature. And it matters just how people look at it. So to me, that's how we get and come to the age of Arceus, a Pokemon religion of wonder and compassion, fueled by Darwinism and Jung. The Anima Mundi and the sympathetic self that comes from our morality, from different world religions, from all of that. So, I bid thee well, and next time is about a discussion of sexism in video games. I hope you enjoy it. I'll be joining Vulpix. She's great. One last thing. Philosophispiel has a Discord. You can join by clicking the link below in the SoundCloud, as well as there being the link in the SoundCloud page as well. This has been David Leibowitz with Philosophispiel Video Game Philosophy. Bye!